In the vast universe of electronics, the power to innovate and create is truly limitless. A testament to this power is the remarkable ATTiny10, a microcontroller that has punched way above its weight class since its inception. This tiny titan, with its minimal 6 pins, has the capacity to revolutionize your electronics projects. The ATTiny10, a product of Atmel, now part of Microchip Technology, is a member of the AVR family of microcontrollers. It all started in the late 90s when Atmel released the first AVR microcontroller. This was a time when the electronics industry was in dire need of efficient, low-power and cost-effective solutions. The ATTiny10, released in 2008, was an answer to this need. Despite its minuscule size, this microcontroller has become a favorite among enthusiasts and professionals alike, proving that dynamite truly can come in small packages. Today's narrative will delve into the heart of programming the ATTiny10 using the Arduino Integrated Development Environment, IDE. This journey will cover 4 main paths. To begin, we recommend the first video in our ATTiny10 series covering the specifications of the Tiny 10. Understanding the capabilities of this microcontroller is the first step to harnessing its power. Secondly, here on YouTube and elsewhere on the web, you can find hundreds of tutorials about setting up the Arduino IDE. Especially for the ATTiny10, we recommend not using the latest versions of the Arduino IDE. Rather, we prefer version 1.8.10. In this video, we will also discuss a boards package to use. Thirdly, some of the atypical style of writing programs for the ATTiny10 will be demystified. With this knowledge, you can start breathing life into your electronics projects. Fourth, uploading your program to the ATTiny10 using a USB ASP will be explained. With this knowledge, you can start breathing life into your electronics projects. Lastly, some practical applications of the ATTiny10 will be covered in the follow-on videos, which present simple examples. This will inspire you to push the boundaries of what you can achieve with this tiny yet mighty microcontroller. The best Tiny 10 boards package we have found is the ATTiny10 core from Technology. Just add this link into the Preferences dialog of the IDE. Then open the Boards Manager and search for Tiny 10 Core. This package will allow you to select the MCU. Yes, there are even smaller versions of the ATTiny. You can also select a 1 MHz or 8 MHz clock frequency. Due to the limited RAM in the ATTiny10, you need to abandon many of the Arduino conventions and drop down to a lower level of programming. We call it register programming, which is just one level above assembler. This type of coding is not unique to the Tiny 10. It may be used with most any AVR chip, but does require a more in-depth knowledge of the internal registers of the particular microcontroller in use. Registers are basically just named memory location that typically control I/O operations in a microcontroller. Ports are just a collection of registers that apply to one specific peripheral, such as GPIOs or ADCs. For this introduction to register programming, we will only cover 2 registers from port B, DDRB, and port B. DDRB is the data direction register and controls whether a GPIO pin is an output or an input. The lower 4 bits correspond to the 4 GPIO pins B0 through B3. So to set B1 as an output, we would write DDRB or equals 2, where a binary 2 corresponds to the second lowest bit of DDRB, which controls the direction of pin B1. It must be noted that when writing directly to registers, you must take care not to affect the other bits in the register. For this reason, we are using or equals to set a bit to 1. To set a bit to 0, we use and equals inverting the bits, which is accomplished with the tilde character. The ATTiny10 does not have a serial port, so we have to use a USB ASP to get our code into the Tiny 10, similar to how a bootloader is uploaded to a Nano or Uno, etc. But not exactly. The Tiny 10 doesn't have a SPI interface either. It does have a similar uploading port unique to the ATTiny family. It is called TPI. Not surprisingly, this stands for Tiny Programming Interface. Herr Fischl, the author of the code inside of the USB ASP, included the ability to communicate via the TPI quite a few years ago, so unless your USB ASP is very old, you should have no problem. You will need to connect 5 pins of the Tiny 10 to the ASP. VCC and ground are obvious, as well as reset. MOSI. Needs to be connected to PB0, pin 1. This done. Upload as normal from the IDE. Having reached the end of this narrative, the ATTiny10 shouldn't seem so tiny anymore. Its power and potential will be evident, and you'll be equipped with the knowledge and skills to start your own journey of innovation and creation. Prepare yourself to learn atypical programming techniques while still using the well-known Arduino IDE, and discover the power that lies inside of this 6-pin wonder. Our next video will continue the journey, starting with the obligatory blink sketch.